Welcome, curious minds, to our latest deep dive. Today, we're exploring the recent Q2 2025 earnings call and a company announcement from Novo Nordisk. If you've been tracking the healthcare sector, especially this whole world of diabetes and obesity treatments, well, you know this company's been right at the center of things. Our goal isn't just reciting numbers. We want to cut through the corporate speak and the financial jargon, really give you the essential insights. We want you to understand what's truly happening at one of the world's biggest pharma companies, what it means for the market, and maybe what's next for patient care. Okay, let's unpack this.
Indeed. And this deep dive, it really offers a crucial look at just how complex this market is becoming. It's evolving so fast. We'll be pulling information straight from their leadership. You've got the outgoing CEO, Lars Fruergaard Jørgensen, the incoming CEO, Mike Daustar, plus the CFO and the R&D head. We'll look at how they actually did in the first half of 2025. We'll dissect why their outlook for the rest of the year shifted, which was a bit surprising. And we'll get into some of their strategic moves. What's really fascinating is how the numbers, when you look closely, tell a story of, well, both huge opportunity and some pretty significant headwinds.
Okay, so let's start there. The big financial picture, Novo Nordisk put up some numbers for each one 2025 that looked, well, pretty robust on the surface. How did they actually perform?
Yeah.
And then, what's this surprising headline about the adjusted outlook?
You're right, the first look. Strong growth. Their net sales went up 16% in Danish kroner and actually 18% if you look at constant exchange rates, or CER. That hit DKK 154.9 billion. Operating profit saw big gains too, up to 25% in kroner, 29% at CER, landing at DKK 72.2 billion. Net profit.
Right.
Up 22%. And diluted earnings per share jumped 23% to DKK 12.49. So yeah, significant figures.
Those numbers do paint a very positive picture for the first half, so it feels really counterintuitive that they've adjusted their full-year forecast downwards. What's actually driving that shift? It feels unexpected.
That is precisely the key insight here. Despite that strong start, Novo Nordisk has lowered its full-year outlook for 2025.
Right.
Sales growth is now pegged between 8 and 14% at CER. That's a notable drop from the previous 13 to 21% range they gave.
Wow, yeah.
And operating profit growth, also revised down, now 10 to 16% from 16 to 24% previously.
Okay, so this isn't just a minor tweak then?
No, not at all. It signals a pretty fundamental rethink of the market dynamics, and it's largely driven by three main things they see coming in the second half of 2025. First, lower growth expectations for Wegovy, their big obesity drug in the U.S. market. That's crucial. Second, similar dip in expectations for Ozempic in the U.S. GLP-1 diabetes market. And third, Wegovy just isn't penetrating some international markets as fast as they'd hoped. They're pointing fingers at, well, a few things. The persistent use of compounded GLP-1s.
The compounding issue again.
Exactly. Plus slower market expansion than they projected and, just more competition entering the space.
That shift in outlook, it suggests more than just top-line worries.
Yeah.
What else are the financials telling us, about their priorities? Where's the money actually going?
Yeah, good question. Beyond the headlines, you see some key shifts. Their gross margin dipped slightly. That's partly due to things like amortizations from the Catalan acquisition they made and just the ongoing costs of expanding capacity.
Makes sense.
Sales and distribution costs up significantly, about 15%. That reflects them really pushing Wegovy and Ozempic promotions hard.
Right.
Now, R&D costs, interestingly, showed a numerical decrease. But that's mainly because of a big one-off impairment loss last year. DKK 5.7 billion related to a drug called osidronone. What's important is they are still increasing new R&D investment in obesity care and late-stage trials, so the long-term commitment is there.
Okay, that clarifies that.
And crucially, capital expenditure is nearly doubled, soared to DKK 28.1 billion, up from 18.9 billion last year.
Oh, it's huge.
It is. It reflects massive investment in scaling up their API, that's the active pharmaceutical ingredient production, and also fill finish capacity, that's for current and future products, injectables, and orals.
I see.
This big spending bump, it did contribute to lower free cash flow. So even with that lowered short-term sales outlook, their projected capital spend for the whole of 2025 is still around DKK 65 billion.
65 billion. Okay.
Yeah. It really underscores this unwavering long-term bet they're making on future demand and needing the supply ready.
That massive capex, it really tells a story. Long-term conviction, definitely, even with these short-term bumps. So let's zoom in on the products themselves. How are the flagships, diabetes, obesity, how are they doing, especially given those lower growth forecasts?
Well, stepping back for a second, just scale-wise, Novo Nordisk is now serving almost 46 million patients globally.
46 million.
Yeah, with their diabetes and obesity treatments, that's up over 3.5 million patients just compared to the first half of 2024. So the reach is enormous.
Incredible number. Okay, let's talk Wegovy first. What's the latest with their big obesity drug, especially in the U.S., where they're seeing those revised expectations?
Right. Wegovy sales did surge overall, up 78% at CER globally, hitting DKK 36.9 billion.
Still massive growth then.
Oh, yeah. In the U.S. specifically, sales grew 37%. They're seeing about 280,000 weekly prescriptions. However, the ongoing challenge, the big one impacting that outlook, is the estimated 1 million patients in the U.S. on compounded GLP-1s.
A million. Wow. And just remind us, GLP-1s are?
Glucagon-like peptide ones. They're a class of drugs that mimic hormones to help regulate blood sugar and appetite. Got it. And even though the FDA's grace period for mass compounding ended back in May 2025, Novo's market research says, look, unsafe, unlawful mass compounding, it's still happening, and it's directly hitting Wegovy's uptake.
What are they doing about it? Just accepting it?
No, they're not sitting still. They're actively fighting back multiple strategies, litigation,
Ongoing talks with the FDA, trying to combat it.
Okay, so beyond the legal fight, how are they trying to, win commercially?
Yeah.
Get around these compound...
And they're starting to see some traction, about 10,000 weekly prescriptions through NovoCare Pharmacy and also telehealth partnerships. That's on top of about 17,000 weekly prescriptions in the sort of traditional retail cash channel.
So making some inroads.
Seems like it. And a potentially significant win, CVS. Their national template formulary changed effective July 1st, and it makes Wegovy the only GLP-1 covered for obesity on that specific formulary.
Well, it's big.
It could be. Early prescription data looks positive, suggesting some of these counter strategies might be starting to work.
Okay. And what about Ozempic? Their key diabetes treatment, the GLP-1 there. How's it holding up?
Ozempic sales grew a solid 15% at CER globally, reached DKK 64.5 billion.
Still very strong.
Definitely. In the U.S., sales were up 9% with around 690,000 weekly prescriptions. And what's noteworthy here, beyond just the sales numbers, Ozempic got a positive opinion from the European Medicines Agency, the EMA,
For what?
for treating peripheral arterial disease in people with type 2 diabetes.
Interesting. It's broadening its application.
Exactly. And this builds on existing data. Remember, semaglutide 1.0 milligram, that's Ozempic, showed a 24% risk reduction in kidney-related events in the FLOW trial.
Right, I remember that.
And a 26% cardiovascular risk reduction in the SUSPAN 6 trial. The company describes that benefit as unmatched in the incretin space. And interestingly, it seems to be driven by more than just weight loss, which hints at, potentially broader benefits of this drug class.
Fascinating.
And they also plan to launch Ozempic in the cash channel later this year.
It really seems, though, despite how well these drugs are doing, there's still this enormous untapped market out there. What's the bigger picture Novo Nordisk keeps painting about unmet patient need?
You've absolutely hit on a crucial point for their whole strategy. Despite their strong market position, despite Ozempic, despite Wegovy, they constantly highlight this vast unmet need. Globally, you're talking over 550 million people with type 1 and 2 diabetes.
Shocking number.
And over 900 million living with obesity. Yet, GLP-1s, they only account for about 7% of total estimated diabetes prescriptions. And for obesity, less than 1% of people globally who have obesity are treated with branded anti-obesity meds.
Less than 1%.
Yeah. So what does that mean strategically? It means there's this enormous, largely untapped potential for market expansion, for reaching totally new groups of patients. And that remains a core strategic focus for them, absolutely, moving forward.
Okay, so we've seen the sort of immediate market challenges, the current product performance. But looking beyond today, what's brewing in their labs? Let's shift focus now to the innovations, the pipeline that's set to shape their next chapter, and maybe some of those ambitious R&D decisions they're making.
Right. This is where it gets really exciting, thinking longer term. Novo Nordisk is moving forward with amycretin, both forms subcutaneous, so injected, and an oral form for
Yeah.
weight management. They're advancing both into phase 3 trials. Big commitment. That program's called AME, starting Q1 2026.
Amycretin. And the early data looked promising.
Very encouraging, yeah. Phase IVA data showed estimated body weight loss of, 9.7%, 16.2%, and 22% after 12 weeks of maintenance on different doses. And the 60 milligram dose showed an impressive 24.3% weight loss at 36 weeks.
24%, that's significant.
It really is, and the safety profile looked pretty consistent with other incretin therapies, mostly mild to moderate GI issues like nausea.
Those are certainly compelling results from incretin. So how does Novo balance that excitement, these powerful new drugs, with the challenges we talked about? Mass production, equitable access globally.
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? And their huge investment in manufacturing capacity.
Was submitted for approval in the EU just last month in July.
Higher dose Wegovy.
Yep. And we're also expecting a U.S. decision on the Wegovy MASH indication later this quarter.
Right, MHH, the liver disease.
Exactly. Metabolic dysfunction-associated steatohepatitis. Big unmet need there, and they got priority review, so a decision should be coming. But what's also fascinating strategically are the decisions to stop developing certain things.
Oh, like what?
Well, for instance, they completed a phase 2 trial with Zelfermin. That's an FGF21 analog, a type of protein hormone. They were testing it in MSH combined with semaglutide.
And?
Development terminated. The reason? The combo didn't show superior improvement in liver fibrosis compared to just a placebo when added to semaglutide.
Right.
They basically said semaglutide is really difficult to beat in this area.
Interesting. So setting a high bar.
Very high. And similarly, another one, a once-weekly GLP-1 GIP coagonist they were developing for weight management, also terminated. This was despite it showing positive weight reductions, the reason given. Portfolio consideration.
Portfolio consideration.
Yeah.
So maybe too similar to something else they have or not differentiated enough.
That's how it reads. It raises that question, right? Why invest so much only to stop? It really suggests they have this incredibly high bar now for new assets. They need to significantly outperform what they already have or offer something truly different to keep going.
That's a crucial insight into their R&D thinking, really focusing only on the most potentially impactful stuff. Any other notable R&D updates, maybe outside obesity and diabetes?
Yes, quite a few, actually. They've started a phase 1 trial for an oral NLRP3 inhibitor.
NLRP3, inflammation.
Exactly. Targeting inflammation pathways relevant across liver, kidney, cardiometabolic diseases, so broad potential. They also inked an exclusive collaboration with a company called Septerna.
Okay.
This is for oral small molecules targeting GPCRs, G-protein-coupled receptors, including GLP-1, GIP, glucagon, again, key targets for cardiometabolic diseases.
So more shots on goal in that area.
I think so. And in rare diseases, Alhemo, or concizumab, got U.S. approval and a positive EMA opinion for hemophilia A and B without inhibitors. And non-replacement indications for another drug, Segreta, were submitted in the U.S. and Japan. So, yeah, innovation happening across a pretty broad spectrum.
That broad view of innovation, it leads us nicely to the leadership transition. Big news announced during this earnings call. Can you just walk us through the changes right at the top?
Yeah, absolutely.
A pivotal moment for the company. Lars Fruergaard Jørgensen is stepping down. He's had 8 pretty accomplished years as CEO. And as of August 7th, 2025, which is, well,
he's being appointed Chief Scientific Officer, CSO, and he'll head up a new unified R&D organization. So consolidating research and early development, that seems like a clear move to sharpen their innovation focus. Marcus Schindler, the previous CSO, is retiring, and Emil Kamm-Schulderson is stepping into Mike Gessler's old role running international operations.
Okay.
They're framing these changes as ways to sharpen focus, enhance efficiency, especially in R&D, but also commercial execution. And one more thing, a new observer,
Dr. Michael Dolston, he's joining the board, has extensive R&D experience.
Reinforcing the science focus at the board level, too.
Exactly. Seems to signal that continued strong emphasis on. And given that vast unmet need we talked about globally, the company clearly believes they have huge volume opportunities just with their current drugs and the ones coming soon. It's about delivering on that potential now.
What an illuminating deep dive. We've really unpacked a lot there. The strong financials, but then that surprising outlook revision. The market battles, especially against compounding. The really exciting pipeline innovations. And these significant leadership changes, signaling maybe a new era at Novo Nordisk. You should now have a much clearer picture of where they stand in their strategic direction.
Yeah, it's a really compelling story, isn't it? A company juggling these immediate market challenges, but also facing these truly massive future opportunities and those consistent heavy investments in R&D and manufacturing, even while lowering the short-term outlook. It just reflects this deep, long-term conviction they have about addressing those unmet global health needs.
So as Novo Nordisk really doubles down on tackling these huge, largely untapped markets for obesity and diabetes worldwide, here's something to think about. How will that delicate balance between pioneering powerful new medicines and actually ensuring they're widely available and affordable, how will that truly redefine global health in the years ahead? That's it for this deep dives. We hope this gave you a clearer, more informed perspective on these really critical developments. Join us next time for another journey into being well informed.